Hello. So today we will tackle something of higher mathematics and rocket science for a lot of people, or most, I would say. What would that be? Is parallel. Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce that in English. This is breaking my tongue here, since this is not my native language. So parallel universes, aka realities. So okay, most people believe in that what we see here right now. You know, when we look around and at our own lives, that that's one and only reality, or the one and only, the so-called material reality. I don't know, will this disappoint you or will this excite you? But there's so many of them, just like this one. And obviously, there are variations of it, because that's the whole point why they're parallel. So yes, do you exist? Do you have your double or triple you? I don't know, 100th of you? Yes, you do. So what's happening here? Let's say, all right. First, I'll let you breathe and think the worst of me. Maybe silently or out loud calling me I don't know, a nutcase or a delusional guy, whatnot. You got it? You got through it? You got over it? Alright, so let's start. It's kind of funny. No, seriously. I mean, because look, listen. This is, I'm not being cocky or anything. I'm just making fun of it, because in reality, that's the reaction of most people when you tell them that there's multiple realities, and that those realities basically parallel to this one, and that they exist in all of them. They're they're basically same person in numerous versions of that person. Yes. So when you would say that, when you claim that, obviously it's not that hard to prove in fact. Not that hard, actually. But yes, when people hear that, they usually just go like, this guy lost it. Or like, I lost him. At this point, I'm out. I don't know what he's talking about. This is just too far-fetched to be real, or something I would be willing to grasp or willing to understand. But that's what's going on. If you're wondering why our world currently has crisis, if you're one of those people that is a scholar of our actual the history of this reality, and things don't add up, and the history that is in mainstream, given to us by mainstream sources, like school system, government systems that teach us how things used to be here, and how long they were like that, when they changed, and blah 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 blah, and yada yada yada. And that they don't add up, and you feel that they're a bunch of BS, okay, made up stuff. You're right, because of one thing. In every not like, imagine this, all these realities they don't have walls that cannot be breached, okay? everything here that you're seeing, as I always say, is digital or a form of a simulation, of a mind concept. It's a mind construct. It's not real, okay? Yes, it appears real, and I'm not going to go back into it to try to explain it. Watch the other speeches before, the other videos if you want to, if you're interested in it. I'm not interested in going back explaining things from A to Z. But anyways, these walls are not actual walls between these realities. These realities overlap. Because they overlap, and why would they even overlap? Well, the reason they overlap is because you're making so many, maybe not you as a person, also you as a person, but the all is making a bunch of different choices every moment. Okay? So those choices are so intertwined between each other and so connected that it is impossible to completely separate those outcomes. I know it sounds complicated. I can relate to some of you not knowing what the heck I'm talking about. Imagine you have apartments where, a building full of apartments, and each room, each unit or each apartment is its own unit, right? Its own, separate space. What's going on in that apartment, exactly what's going on there is not going on exactly that way in the apartment next to it, or one above, or 3 apartments above or below, or whatever. You get the point, right? Okay, so now imagine if you remove those thick, dense walls and you put curtains. So you have curtains now. So you can hear things from another reality. You don't know what you're hearing, and you know what you're hearing, but you don't understand where it's coming from because you can't see. You just hear something. Many times in our world, we are, sensing and knowing some kind of stuff that we know it's not from this reality, because we know it's impossible to know it from this reality, because we have either never came upon it, we don't understand where the source is, but we know it's not from this reality because we have just never dealt with it. So we don't understand why we have a certain answer to certain things we were not supposed to have an answer to. Why do we understand certain things that we were never taught here? We haven't witnessed those things here. We haven't read about them, but somehow we know them, and somehow we're not able to explain where they're coming from, but they do pop up here and there. It's just like, what? That's weird. And I always say that deja vu is nothing but a repetition of a pattern which changes at that moment. So because it overlaps, it shows you that moment is like a crossroads. That's a crossroads. So if you keep getting into the same moment, it means you keep repeating the same things. So your reality is stagnant. Your reality, you're not improving in the sense of growth, in the sense of awareness of yourself, of the totality of yourself, or the awareness of all. You're not improving. You're not gaining understanding of it. So you always come to the same crossroads because our reality is on a loop. I hope you understand that. And don't be disappointed. That's why life sometimes seems boring, because it's like, what is this life? It's all about the same thing over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how you turn it. It doesn't matter, today I have this kind of car, then I don't know, in 3 years I buy a better car or a worse car. But all in all, we are on a loop. The same things are going on and on and on and on. And sometimes people get very desperate and very, depressed, knowing and sensing that that's the truth. So in this loop, we always come back to, it's I would say, I don't know, a source point, you know, where the loop starts and then it comes back to its point. So if we are not improving, it means we're stuck, just like as when you're stuck in a computer game in one of the rooms and you can never get out of it because you have succeeded to conquer the first one, the second one, the third one, now you're on the fourth level and you're stuck there because you can't get to the fifth. So you keep getting, it bounces you back to the beginning. So the same way, once you progress to the fifth room, let's say you finally made it, now you're in the fifth room, you say like, wow, but my deja vu's change. They do change, of course, because now you're in the fifth room, but you can't get to the sixth. So you're, you know, constantly going back in that loop, being thrown back to the beginning, to the entry of that room before you can proceed to the next one, the next level. So life is in levels. All these loops, they continue until you break that cycle, and then you go on, and then for some time you're stuck in that same loop until you conquer it, and then you go into the next one. It's really funny because like even the natives, you know, that were so-called primitive, knew about, let's say the Native Americans. Their whole idea, their whole philosophy is that everything works in circles. So in a way, not sure what they actually knew, but in a way they knew that things are looping themselves. All right. Now, to get back to the building where we have these walls, but we replace walls with curtains, you see, now we have a different problem. Now we have a problem that now you don't need somebody to knock on your door, and then you either, you know, letting them in or not, or them having the key to get in to your apartment, or, you know, being denied the entry to your apartment. Here we have curtains, which means now people are just coming and going from one apartment to the next one, to the next one, to this one, to that one, and, you know, it turns into chaos. At some point, let's say everybody's well behaved, everybody's respectful, and say like, I know I could go into my neighbor's apartment, but, you know, it's not decent. I don't want to do that. It's disrespectful. You know, they didn't invite me, so I'm gonna keep out of there. I'm gonna keep myself out of all the other people's apartments, and I'm gonna only be in mine. Well, guess what? Consciousness of all, you know, likes to play tricks on itself and invents the bad guy. Now, the bad guy doesn't want to be so obedient and be so respectful and so considerate, and the bad guy goes like, I don't know, I want to see what's happening. You know, the bad guy is really not bad, but it's curious, okay? Let's put it that way, so that we remove that negative, you know, conception of what all is, okay? And how it functions in the sense of the consciousness of all. It's not really bad, but it's very, very curious. I know I'm not supposed to go into my neighbor's apartment. I get it. Like, shit, but I can't help myself. I want to go around. I want to, you know, see what other people are doing. You know, I want to see how their apartments look. You know, and with some you're impressed, with some you're not. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm out. You peek in, and you turn around immediately because it's such a mess and it doesn't interest you at all, and you're just like, I'm out of here. Then you find another one who's like, wow, this is really cool. Oh, look at that. You know, and then you may be, you know, I don't know, maybe you're a little bit of voyeur, and you're looking at the people, what they're doing, and their private stuff, and, you know, it's like private moments, intimate moments, and, you know, you're looking, and it's like, wow, look at that. Oh, damn, I didn't know, you know, listen to that, you can, you know, run your imagination wild here. So that's what's happening with this reality and all of the other ones. Now, the curious guy is a parasite, or it can, not necessarily a parasite, but it can turn into one. Why? Because when you stumble upon, you know, finding out what your neighbors do, how their apartments look, because there's a curtain and you can freely go, you know, through those, you know, cross those boundaries that you were not supposed to, you start gaining some sort of advantage. Let's say they don't do that, all right, and you're the only one doing it. I mean, you get a lot of advantage. You start getting to understand a lot of the stuff that's happening around you that they think they can keep secret. Okay? Now you're getting into the domain of secrets. Secrets, revealed to you, or something that you know about somebody, but they don't know that about you. That's your advantage, if you want to take it. All right, if you want to use that as to your advantage. So that's why in our reality, believe it or not, we have parasites. We have curious ones who are coming in, curious versions of ourselves who are coming in, just snooping around. Really, no harm done, snooping around, figuring out like, man, how do I look at this reality? What's happening here? Did I make this decision? How my life ended here? Was I still with the same person? Did I have kids? I don't know. Did I get a house? Did I win a lottery? It's like, did this person catch me? Or did I kill somebody? Or stuff like, all sorts of stuff like that. Of course, that all, you're curious because certain things in this reality here are either not going by plan, or they are, but you now want to switch because you change your mind because the plan is going well, and now you're realizing that certain things you don't need, or maybe it's not the way you imagined once you get them, and blah blah blah, and so on and so on. So it's hard to keep track here, to stay, with the thread of the issue. But I'm trying my best to illustrate this whole idea here to you, the whole concept of what's actually taking place. So the curious ones sometimes turn into greedy ones because they see the opportunity. They see, so if I did this way, in this reality, this ended badly. In this other reality, this ended good, but not as good as I wanted to. Now I have this introspection over my options. So because you know certain outcomes, you start also obviously noticing the outcomes of the actions of other subjects or people, other personalities, other members of these realities involved. And also that ties into world events, political events. So now you're able to sort of foretell, where things, or see where things ended, how they ended, where they, did they end by plan, or did they go astray? And so now you're able to put down some bets to your advantage. So this is what's happening here. We have some figures in our society that have, crossed those boundaries and are here and are taking advantage of what they have seen in different realities across the board of different variations, and are trying to take that, driving this reality, this one here, to their own advantage, to gain a lot, to gain power. Of course, with power, they're gaining control over certain variations, over certain outcomes. So what's really happening is, you will say, oh, but that's kind of wacky, so this is only happening here. So how come everybody ganged up on this reality? So what about those other realities? So they all come here and do only this kind of stuff here? No. It's the same. Every reality has the same problem. Every reality has the givers or the protectors and the takers or the parasites. Okay? Every reality. And that's why it is so perplexed and so complex that it's really, really, really hard to prove who belongs where. Which version of you should be here and which version should not be here. Same when you're looking from this at the same thing, the same problem in a different reality, that reality of that version, they see the same problem, even though it's you. It's all you. So I'm not sure how much this, how much you find logic in this, but this is sort of like, I would say, the clearest way of explaining this chaos to you, how this works. And that's why you're seeing that, also every reality, obviously, my God, I'm like losing myself trying to pronounce all these things. Every reality has its peak. Like I said, it goes in loops. It has its peak and it has its fall. So it comes up, it crashes, goes down. Where are we right now? I would say right before the crash. Because remember one thing. The problem here, is the balance. The balance always has to be perfect between the takers and the givers, or the parasites and the protectors. There are always those that protect this reality from being screwed over, okay, and being taken hostage. And then there's always those who are taking it hostage, who are hijacking it, basically hacking it. Okay, those are also, the parasites, you could also call them hackers. If everything is digital and nothing is as real as and dense and material as it appears to be, then they are nothing but hackers, computer hackers, or simulation hackers. Now, of course, the more you take, you threaten the position of yourself in the other realities. So it's like there has to be balance between all versions of yourself. Now, if you go to if you transgress, okay, or scratch that. If you trespass and go into different realities with an intent to gain, what you will do is you will take from other versions of yourself and you will start grabbing everything for that one version. That can't work. That's impossible. That's a natural disaster because everything is kept in balance, which means all versions across the entire spectrum of different realities of that version, of that self, they have to be equal. A lot of these greedy ones, they don't quite understand that. So we are right at going towards the peak of corruption, which means we're headed right for the crash, because it won't work. They don't know that. They always do the same thing. But you also have to understand it's very hard to blame them because they don't know. They don't understand. As much as you think that all this stuff is so, people just know they're going from one reality to another. Some may train themselves very, very good so that they know they are trespassing. They know they are doing that consciously and they know how to do it. Whereas a lot of them, they just appear somewhere else, and when they come back, it's kind of like they woke up from this dream where they were given all sorts of information, and now they're in this wake state, in this reality, and now they know certain things from some other worlds, and they can take that information and use it to gain some kind of advantage in this reality over the other versions of others and themselves. Okay? So this is how this works. And don't forget, all versions. It doesn't matter, even if you're Paul and you're Paul across the board everywhere else in different realities, and there's Rachel. Rachel and Paul are still one, are still part of all. So Rachel and Paul are not two different people. They may be two different people, but they come from the same consciousness, from the same source. So it doesn't matter who you screw over, you will pay. That's the law. I didn't make it. That's just how it works. Because the game doesn't work if there's no law. Alright, every game has its rules. And this is a game. Welcome to the game. Play it wisely.